All right, so we're back. What I'm looking at here is the helmet that we worked on, and I even updated. And there's some stuff that I'm not real crazy about, so I actually went back to my original Boolean here. And I'm going to do a little bit of an update. So the thing, again, I should say, put it this way, I'm going to turn this one off just so we can see what I'm doing. But this will also be an example of another tool that we're going to end up using anyway in this next part. So what we're going to use is something that's like the FFD modifier inside of 3 Studio Max if you used it before. If not, it's basically a, they call it in here a deformer. It deforms the edges. One of the problems I saw with this piece was that if I hold this, that this tapers as it goes to the outside. And I didn't really get that going on. So I figured I'd fix that. I'm going to rotate this over like that. I'm going to move it over. And then I'm going to make it thinner. This is that plank that we're using for this box that we're using for our helmet cutout. And basically I just want to get it to the center right here. Just like that. Okay. And eventually we'll mirror it and we'll get that in there. But for what we want right now, we're going to go to a new tool set, something we haven't talked. We even touched on it. I think Ryan brought something up and we talked about this. And as I dug deeper into it, I realized that it had some useful things. Okay, so we're going to come inside of here and we're going to go to Deformer. Now, this is a new tool set for you all to see. Not that everything in ZBrush isn't new right now, but this one is even newer than before because it has these little arrows on them. And you're going to see every tool inside of here, and there's a lot. Their modifiers are going to be having those tools. Now, each one of these little pole pieces right here actually changes how the object reacts to something. Make sure I didn't mess it up. Okay. So this one, by default, is probably something like this. This, if you roll up and down around the edges, you'll see that this arrow, as you roll over, it says divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2 in the 3 directions. If I change this one like to this, you'll see it divides it, and it gives me 4 dots in those directions. I don't want to do that in this case, but we are going to do that, and I want you to understand that you can actually have a lot more fine detail over this. We can divide it this way or whatever we want to. We're going to leave it the way it is, and what these points do is when I pull them, they allow me just to modify the object really simply, even if it's super divided. We want to do that. We're going to taper this side in, but the problem with tapering it that way is we don't get it uniform. So I'm going to pull this up, because if we roll over it, you'll see the description says over the top of it, parallel for 1, mirror for 2. So I want mirror, I think I'm on 2, yeah. If I go down, oh, and if you see this thing will pop over where you last clicked, so I'm just going to click over here to move it. But I'm going to take this one and drag it down, and see now it's tapering both sides. Let me do that from the side here. So you can see it's tapering both sides. And if I want, I could write down those numbers, or you can even hold, I thought it was shift, but anyway. The other thing that I noticed about this is that if it goes in this way, that's better, because before it was going straight back and it gave me some weird angles. I'm going to go ahead and touch this one over here and then do that same thing to this side real quick. No, I'm sorry, we aren't. Now I'm going to look at this, and then this rotation and move tool is still sitting right here, so all I have to do is rotate it a little bit. Oh, let me click over here. Maybe. Oh, no. And we can rotate in a second. So I've got it tapered in. It's probably pretty good. And then when you want to finish what you're working on with those changes, you just come in here and say accept. And there's also shortcuts for all this stuff. But for now, let's get used to thinking accept. And we'll pull this up. And we look pretty good. Now, that's only 1/2. But as we know, we can do mirror weld. And mirror weld is, again, inside geometry, inside modified topology, and then the top one right there. So mirror weld in this case on the x-axis. So I click it, and it's going to complain because it's not off the ground, and it's all tilted, and that's fine. So I'm going to say yes, and it's going to do it. And now I've got 2 planes that are tapering as they go towards the end over here. So now when I Boolean these out, I'll get a tighter one. And plus they're straight. I like that better too. Straight back. They were kind of diagonal towards this way. Okay. So now I just have to turn these other pieces back on. And I've got my helmet set up again. And then we'll just click on live Boolean and then come down to the Boolean. And then we'll say make mesh. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull these things back into a new, so it's got a new U mesh here. We'll call this helmet. We'll rename it as helmet. Like that, and then we will import in, if I come back to here, this is the one that's actually done. I don't want to use that one. Come back to where we were a second ago, which was this one. And we'll take this visor. Not that, just this whole thing. And then we'll come back to our helmet and we'll say insert, and then we'll probably have to modify the position of it again, come to think of it. I'm not crazy about this. I'm really not crazy about most of the stuff in here. This piece looks you know what, I'm just gonna do something else. Hold on. Okay, so I've done little adjustments. I got this kind of set up. I just wanted to get us to where we were. You know, there's a lot of little things we could do. And there's, you know, my interpretation of this is from a bunch of different pictures, like this one. It's amazing to me how fat everything looks, and how, not amazing really, but it's funny how things look when you're looking at the in-game models. They're all chunky. Then you look at this cutscene one, and it's like beautiful, beautiful. Anyway, so let's get back to this. So we're gonna look at this. I'm gonna change this texture to just a standard mocap there. I'm gonna go ahead and hide him and the eyeballs here and just start working this way. Okay.